What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your boy, StephenMotivate. We are back again with another episode of The Journey. I'm super excited again to have a guest with me today, Melanie Simon.
Yes.
And we met through a mutual friend.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm excited about learning more about you today. Maybe you'll learn a little bit about me as well. But The Journey is all about us talking to folks about their journey, the journey they've been on, the journey that they're on, the journey that they're going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, Melanie, one, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're delighted to have you and delighted to learn more about all the awesome things you do, and not just what you do, but why you do them.
Why?
Yes. So, Melanie, tell us about yourself. You from here? Where are you from?
Well, I'm originally born and raised in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, a little small town north of Pittsburgh.
Shout out to Beaver Falls.
Beaver Falls, whoop, whoop, Bill Namath country. I live in the Charlotte, North Carolina area now.
Yeah.
I'm the founder and CAO, Chief Advocate Officer. Chief Advocate Officer.
Chief Advocate Officer.
Advocate Officer
Okay.
of SmartMe. SmartMe is an educational resources company that provides resources for children pre-K to 5th grade with special learning needs. So I'm an advocate for that.
That's fantastic.
That's where the Chief Advocate comes from.
Yeah.
I'm an educator. I've worked in various facets of education for over 30 years. I am an attorney.
Wow.
No longer practicing, but licensed attorney.
Wow.
And I am a wife, and I'm a mother of 4 amazing children.
Wow.
All adults now,
Okay.
but one of whom is a person with Down syndrome,
Oh, wow.
who was the inspiration for SmartMe.
Behind SmartMe.
Yes.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what led you on this journey of like one, maybe even before the kids and law and to education and even getting from Pennsylvania down to Charlotte?
Well, marriage brought me to Charlotte. So my journey was left home, went to Hampton University.
Okay. Hampton.
Hampton Institute
And there you go.
at the time, but became Hampton University before I graduated. And started off in engineering. My father's direction for me, but it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So I ended up on a math track, which I loved. And that's where my journey in education originally started.
So you're like super intelligent.
People say that. No, I have a brother-in-law who thinks I'm the smartest person on the planet, but I'm not, honestly. I'm not, no. So I started the journey in math and education. Classroom was not for me, but tutoring, worked in STEM programs, after-school programs, had an after-school program out of my house, had an after-school program at Andrews Air Force Base years later. But education was always my passion.
Really?
And interestingly, I was working for a STEM program in Hampton Roads, Virginia, right before I got married. And I didn't know what I was going to do when my husband's military. He's retired now, but at the time, and we were going out to Lawton, Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, there's nothing in Lawton, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I've never
what
been
am
to
I going to
Lawton,
do?
Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh. Oh, nothing but tumbleweed. But
oil or something out there too?
Maybe. I don't know. All I know is there was tumbleweed. But
what was that like? Was that just for the love? Like, I love this, my husband, and we're gonna do this together. And
he was an Army officer, and that was his duty location.
Yeah.
So
no questions asked. That's where we're going.
That's where you go.
Yeah.
So it was great. But before leaving Virginia, going to Oklahoma, I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm in the STEM program, and I could always go out there and teach, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And the executive director of the program that I worked for, which was funded by NASA, she said, I think you going to law school would be great. She said, even if you didn't practice, just the skill set and what you could, gain from that could, you could figure out later on where you really wanted to go. I was young. I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I took the LSAT and went to law school for 3 years.
So how hard was that?
Very difficult.
Very difficult. So
yes.
Was that good for you because you'd already tried engineering, but math for a lot of people is a very difficult topic when you get to certain levels, right? And so what I'm gathering is that you picked up on math, you picked up on, all that, went through that. Now you're teaching people, and you're probably seeing the need, I'm guessing, that people need to kind of learn mathematics and
100%. So the STEM program that I work for, that's where I'm telling you, I got my passion from that. So it was called CROAM, Cooperating Hampton Roads Organizations for Minorities in Engineering. And it was funded by NASA. And the whole purpose of it back in the early 1990s was to ensure that minorities and females, right, were getting what they needed in math, science, and engineering from early elementary up through college so they can fill the void and the gap that they foresaw would be happening in 2035, just a few years from us now, right?
Yeah.
And at that time, there were a shortage of doctors, nurses, engineers, technical people. And guess what? Still the case today.
Still the case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's where my love started, and it continued, from there in terms of the educational part of what I do.
So then so was the law thing, outside of the advice from someone that was like a mentor, advisor, or a friend, how did that stretch you? Because I guess what I'm getting at is like, why would you continue to challenge yourself in a different arena? And what do you think that says about you? And I just think that's kind of cool that you were willing to do something that you hadn't previously done.
I think at that time, I didn't know really which direction I wanted to go. And there were so many things that, and I loved Judy. She was the executive director. She was, of course, older, and I was a young lady. And she kind of was that mentor that saw so much in me. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do once I stepped into married life and now the military life, because my husband, he was an officer. So not only that, but I had to fill the shoes of an officer's wife.
Yeah.
Didn't know what I wanted to do. So she just thought that that was just a great career area, whether I practiced in law or not, to just give me a great skill set, a diversified field skill set that could take me in many different directions based on.
So it is true what they say. It is a difficult program to get into law school, and then to, I'm guessing, complete it is even more difficult.
Oh, yes.
What do you think you picked up in that process? That if obviously you probably picked up a lot of things, but what would be one thing you would say you picked up in that journey?
Just, a lot of things happened during that time. I commuted to law school 75 miles each way. So 150 miles round trip every day. So it was, it's dedication. There's a lot of moving parts to it, because even in that, we were relocated to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. So I'm licensed to practice in South Carolina. So I did some of my studies at USC in preparation for the bar. Wow. So I was just kind of like all over the place. So dedication, right? Just, really starting something and finishing it, right?
Yeah.
Just, wanting to learn and grow, and just to see all the things that, I really could be.
Right.
And still didn't know what all that, would entail, because when my daughter, who has Down syndrome, was born, it changed all over again.
It changed everything.
Oh, yeah.
But I like this idea that, and I want to get into that, but you are doing different things, and you're trying different things, and you're challenging yourself. You're saying something that you're going to do, and you're deciding to do it and complete it, which feels like, I don't know if it's always been rare, but it feels like it's getting even more rare.
100%. I believe that it's getting more rare. Committing to something and doing it and seeing it through is really difficult, especially when you are up against challenges. Yeah. So when you can meet a challenge and face it and overcome it, there's something powerful about that, right?
Yeah.
And it really emboldens you as a person, and that's kind of like what it did for me. Yeah.
So go into this. So you're married, you finish law school, and when did kids start coming along? Because I have 2 young girls, so I'm just in the thick of this, and life feels completely different. I feel like I'm learning myself. I was just talking to my cousin on the way over here. We were talking about marriage, and there's some famous clip going around, like a guy talks to his buddy and he says, "Hey, man, I feel like, I'm changing. I don't feel like myself anymore." And he's like, "Do you feel like you're dying?" He's like, "Yeah, I feel like I'm dying." And he's like, "Well, that's exactly what it's supposed to feel like. You're supposed to lose yourself and, really grow together as a new person," was kind of the idea. But I'm in the thick of this now. And you obviously had some experience being married, having children. So what is it? I guess the question I'm getting at is, what was that journey like? When did kids start to come along? And, how did you manage that? Was it in law school? What,
Oh, yeah, during law school, all of it, right? So a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey. So family comes along. I mean, we were young, so we were ready to start a family, pretty much right away. So through law school, I had a young son. And yeah, he was in school. I was commuting.
Yeah.
My husband was in command over at the Army base.
Okay.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was a challenge. But education, even for my son then, was very important to me. So I made sure that he was in a school, in a program, that his needs would be met, because I knew that at that time that I was not going to be there fully to be able to meet all of those educational needs in the way that I would have wanted to early on. But yeah, so then my second child, my second daughter came along while I was taking the bar.
Wow.
There were 3 days of the bar. While I actually got pregnant with her in March, graduated that May, June, studied for the bar and took the bar at the end of July, what was it, like 30th, 31st, and August 1st, I believe, that year.
Yeah.
But it was 3 days. And it was not fun.
A test for 3 days.
3 days.
A test for 2 hours is not fun, let alone
and
3 days.
it was several hours each day.
Yeah.
So it was very challenging, and she's an amazing young lady, probably because of all that studying and everything that I did. So
she was learning. She was studying the bar inside while you were doing it on the outside. She definitely was.
She had to, and all the nerves and everything that went along with it. And so I took the bar, and then she was born in December of that year, or literally I received the letter in the mail that I had passed the bar maybe a couple of weeks before she was born.
Right.
So it was
awesome.
It was pretty awesome. And then 4 years later, Malia came along, and she's my daughter who was born with Down syndrome. And then I have a younger son after her, born 2 years after that.
Really?
Yeah, but when Malia was born, that was, my other 2 children. Education was very important. It was my focus.
Right.
They were both very gifted children. They both started school early, like a year ahead of themselves. Okay. Reading at like 2 years old, 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, really did.
Reading at 2 years old or 3 years?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yes. Your daughters need to be reading at 2 and 3 years old.
Wow, we are behind.
Yes, well, SmartMe's going to help you.
Yes. Okay.
But it's really important that you have to, start early. I mean, you really, really have to start early.
Yeah.
So that education was my thing. I told you that was my passion.
So so this all came after, or is this because Dad was an engineer? Like, where is this? Do you have a family of folks where education is taken very serious? So
on my father's side of the family, not on my mother's side of the family, I think I had an uncle who might have gone to college before me.
Okay.
But one of the first in my family to actually graduate on my mother's side of the family to graduate. My father's side of the family, a little bit different.
Okay.
My uncle, my father's brother, there were 3 of them. My uncle, he was a college graduate, and he was in he ended up going to law school also.
Oh, okay.
And he was an Air Force officer.
Wow.
And my father, he went to very pretty, I guess, around that area, prestigious college in Beaver Falls, actually, Geneva College.
Okay.
And he worked for Westinghouse Corporation for many years, but he became an engineer. And my father, he was an amazing man. He's deceased now, passed away of lung cancer in 2000. But an amazing man because a lot of the languages that he learned, he taught himself.
Wow. Languages,
computer languages, COBOL. He literally taught himself. And I have a brother under me who is very much the same way, extremely bright. And he teaches himself a lot of the things that he knows about computers, technology, and all of those things. But yeah, my father, he was very, very smart man.
And so I guess this gets to that age-old question, is it nature or nurture? Are you just born with it, or is it something that can be built in you if you have the right things around you that can be nurtured in you? This appetite for learning, this appetite for education.
100% can be nurtured, can be instilled. That's what has to happen, right?
Has to happen.
And with my daughter with Down syndrome, I'm just going to tell you because that's where it starts for me when I think about it, right? I didn't know how she was going to learn.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know.
Is that scary?
It's funny because, I get that question a lot, different variations of that question, how I felt and everything. I'm more of a, I guess, spiritual person. From a young girl, grew up in the church, always loved the Lord. And my grandmother, my father's mother, amazing woman of God. Probably one of the closest people to an angel other than my Malia, my daughter, that I know.
Yeah.
And she instilled so much in me to love the Lord, love the Lord, love the Lord, love the Lord, love the Lord all my life. And so I did. And I don't know, maybe there was just something in me that when Malia was born, because I did not know she would have Down syndrome when I was carrying her. So when she was born, I actually noticed it. It was the way she turned her head when I was holding her. She was in NICU. She had a few complications at birth. And I said to the NICU nurse, she looks like she has Down syndrome. And she was like, no, she's beautiful. I said, she's gorgeous. But I'm telling you what I saw was the way she turned her head. I saw it. So after a battery of tests, it was conclusive that, she had Down syndrome. And I don't know. I didn't have what a lot of mothers, go through in terms of, grief and sadness. I didn't. I felt like my daughter was an angel that God had given me. I felt that way. And still do to this day.
Yeah. She's
a beautiful person, a beautiful soul. She has, given me so much in my life, patience, just unconditional love. There's so many facets to who she is that just makes me a better person all the time. And not knowing how she would learn, if she would learn, how severe she would be. I didn't know any of those things. And it was literally, she was maybe about 3 months old. And we were now stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. And we were driving from Fort Bragg down to Sumter, South Carolina to visit my husband's family. And she's sitting back there. The other two kids, Jonathan and Gina, are sitting in the back. And something just came to me like, I just wonder how Malia's going to learn. I wonder how she's going to learn her ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. And this is just me. Yeah. I'm telling you, I don't know. What
other people would see as how am I going to handle this? You're like, almost like, I can handle this. I'm meant to handle it.
But it all comes unbeknownst to me. It's not like I think, because literally, Stephen, in that moment in the car, I'm saying this, and I went into my purse. I pulled out a piece of paper and a pen. Probably the back of an envelope or something. And serious, it's crazy.
Yeah.
When I think about it, I'm serious, because I literally started writing down a script for colors and shapes. how she would learn colors and shapes. So this was what literally in that moment, the Lord had just put something on my spirit to do this. So I'm writing down, this is the color red. Say red. Red is I'm just writing this on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we visited my in-laws, came back home, by the time I pretty much had the script of colors and shapes complete.
Wow.
So I went to Staples or one of those stores. I mean, this all, I'm telling you, had no forethought of this. It all just started coming to me. Went to Staples, bought this big old book of 10,000 clip arts, whatever it was, pulled out all the images that I wanted to go with this script that I had done. Didn't know what it was going to look like. Didn't know what it was going to be like, right? And went to the yellow pages. Didn't have the cell phones like we have now. So I went to the yellow pages to find someone, a videographer or someone who could take what I had done and make it into a video.
Wow. So
called several people. They only did weddings and that kind of thing. And I found a guy, Albert Hill. I don't even know. I hope that he's still alive, but an awesome man. He said, I'll see what you have. Bring it over and let me, take a look at it. Took it, went over to his studio. We sat down. I showed him everything. I had everything laid out for him. The script was there. I had even gone to a recording studio, had done the voiceover for everything, right?
Yeah,
yes. And maybe about 3-4 weeks later, if that long, he called me one day and said, hey, come on over and let me show you what I got. I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but let me, Yeah. And I went over and he pulled this up. And this was in 2000, late 2002, early 2003, somewhere around there. And when I sat down, everything that I had given him, he had these images moving. This is the color red. Say red. And a little splotch of the red would come up on the screen. Say red. Children's voices. They had gone to the recording studio. Children from my church had gone to the recording studio to do the children's voiceover. And you could, it was crazy. I just started crying.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my goodness. I had no thought of what it would look like, but that's what it was. And so I created a workbook to go with that. So it had a visual aid, and then it had a workbook so that she could work with it. So the visual aid for visual learning, and then the workbook was for fine motor development and, for her to manipulate the crayons and stuff. And and then I did letters and sounds to help her with her letter identification, letter sounds to help her get ready to read. And then I did this is all at that time within this couple of years. And then I did a kindergarten ready to read, and math readiness came later. So it was kindergarten ready to read. But each one of these workbooks had a video. Each one of the videos had a workbook. There was a workbook video component. And Malia learned from those.
Wow.
I mean, she was probably, like I said, right around a year, 6, 8, 9, 10 months old from the moment Colors and Shapes was done. She was watching that video.
Wow.
She was watching it. And
I can barely interrupt you because this is just so mind-blowing.
It's true.
About what's going on.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. So this is just coming to you kind of spiritually, or
just
once it starts, it just start rolling.
It just started rolling.
And then I can add this, and this will be helpful.
I'll add this, yep. And I just
were you ever getting any, like maybe going to doctor's appointments where practitioners saying, "Hey, this is going to be," trying to prepare you for what couldn't happen?
No,
or what couldn't be.
I'm going to say a couple of things because this was kind of wild. So she was around 3 months old, and we lived in a circle, homes that went in a circle, and we're riding around. We weren't riding around. I was strolling her around the circle, taking a walk, and there was a little girl on a bicycle. She was probably about 7 years old, and she had Down syndrome. So her mom was, right down the road watching her. So as I got closer to her mom, we started talking. I introduced her to Malia. I was like, I see your daughter has Down syndrome. I just had a baby with Down syndrome. And so we kind of bonded in that moment. And she asked me a question that literally blew my mind. She said, did they ask you if you wanted to institutionalize her when she was born?
Wow.
And I was like, no, she was born over at the Army hospital. No, they did not ask me that. And she said, well, and so this was just 7 years prior. Malia was born in 2002, that this woman was asked if she wanted to institutionalize her child. And so when I've done research, the latest, that they were still institutionalizing people, and probably with autism, they didn't even know it was autism at the time. It was just, people who were probably banging their heads on walls and doing things. They didn't probably have a name for it at that time. But people with Down syndrome is as late as the 1990s.
Wow.
So we haven't come that far in terms of educating people with special needs, whether it's Down syndrome, whether it's autism, whether it's other developmental delays that, causes mental and intellectual challenges in learning. So it hasn't been that long.
And why do you think that, now that you've had a, personal experience, why do you think that is? Why do you think that if something doesn't seem like it fits into what we think is regular, why do you think society would be doing that now?
Fear. People are afraid. If something's not normal, what is normal? What is normal?
Right.
We all have issues of some sort, right? But it's fear. People are afraid of what they don't know and what they can't handle.
Right.
And so that's what I believe.
And so we try to push things
and
to
we
the
push
side.
it to the side, yeah.
Let's get it out of our view so we don't have to, let's go back to what we know.
It's mind-blowing because back home in Beaver Falls, there was an institution there. It wasn't in Beaver Falls. It was actually in New Brighton, a little town across the bridge from Beaver Falls. And I remember in Girl Scouts or, one of the organizations that I was in, we went to visit this institution. And I was a little girl. I was a young girl. And guess who was there? Children with Down syndrome. Children who were probably autistic at that time, didn't know, but they were, in padded rooms. Children with water on the brain, like heads this big, right? So it was easy to put them away where they were like, society can't see this. They can't be subjected, to these people.
Right.
That's what I see because that's what I saw when I was there. I'm not saying that there was any inhumane treatment taking place.
Understood.
But, but it's still that if I look at my daughter today, I could never imagine that she would be in an institution. I mean, seriously, I get upset about it because she is so capable. She has done great things and continues to do great things. And I'm just at this point sitting down and really trying to do something about it. So I want to make sure that the little Malias, the 2 and 3 year old Malias who are coming up, that they have this opportunity to learn and grow and reach their full potential and not be put to the side.
To be seen. I love that. I feel like God is using you to help people be seen.
Finally, I'm getting here.
Yeah.
Because it was fear for me.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Well, just, so education as a whole has been important to me, right? And I told you my 2 older children before Malia were bright. They were
advanced.
Smart. Yeah. They were advanced.
Yeah.
So it was already there. And my son, black male.
Yeah.
I told you, Chrome, the organization I worked for. So it was very important to me to make sure that he didn't fall through the cracks, right? And so I had these gifted children. And now I have, this child who has, special needs. There's not anybody that you would meet who knows me who wouldn't tell you how passionate I have always been about education.
Mm-hmm.
I'm that auntie, you get your homework done. What'd you get on your report card? Let me see.
Yeah.
Look, we're working math problems. I'm sitting down with a pen,
Auntie coming.
Yeah. Let's run, let's hide, right? But I always made it fun, right?
Yeah,
but I was that person. Neighbors, anybody. You went to my church. I told you I had after school programs out of my house.
If I can interrupt you for a second, what I like about this is that you're intentional. And you talked about your grandmother earlier about being intentional with how she, made sure you loved the Lord and were involved in church and kept that in your mind. And so I love this. What I'm hearing from your story is how intentional you've been about what you're passionate about. But then you kind of contrast that with saying, finally, I'm doing something about it. So
because through the years, I'm married to, a man who's in the military. There's demands there. I'm a mother. Yeah. There's demands there. I'm trying to figure out my career, what I'm going to do. I had SmartMe, but I didn't necessarily, I was going to vendor events and things like that, but I didn't know what it was as a business at that time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm still trying to figure out me. I have a law degree. What am I going to, all of these things.
Right.
So I'll call myself all over the place.
Yeah.
Right. But I knew in my heart what it always was for me.
Mm-hmm.
What it always was going to be for me. And that was SmartMe, making a difference in the lives of children, right, who had, I'm going to say, special learning needs, and that encompasses different types of children, not just children like my daughter who are mentally challenged. And we could talk about that at some point in this conversation. But up and down. SmartMe was up and down, up and down, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to share something with you because just some few years ago, maybe during COVID, actually, I'm thinking about, because my husband's getting frustrated with me now, right? Listen, we got to do, what are you doing with this, right?
Right.
And I'm like, Lord, I know you won't let me put this down, so show me a new direction. Show me a new direction for SmartMe so that it can go, I can take it to another level. And I now, mind you, at this point, I have 17 workbooks.
Wow.
I have 17 workbooks that I created from cover to cover, math and language arts for kids in preschool up to 5th grade. And that was like my thing, my gift to Malia, that if I could get her to a level of understanding up to a 5th grade level, and any child, because foundational skills are important.
Yeah.
Getting a solid foundation in learning is important, right?
Right.
So that was my thing. So
why would it be any different?
That was my thing,
Let's not, I love this. I love everything you're
I'm glad
saying.
you love it. So let me tell you about this.
Because I want you to get into SmartMe. And it's funny, well, not funny, but I guess coincidental. One of the guys I work for, he has a daughter that has Down syndrome. And so I've heard him talk about it and kind of deal with that. But it's you can tell a bit that it's not a lot of people understand it, or, there could be some certain things, we can't go there yet because we can't do this or that. Or I think he was saying there's someplace in Chicago where they just happened to have, I think it was the Special Olympics, and his daughter was able to participate in that, but it was just almost coincidental that he was in that area. And so, like, what's the community like? How many people are out there that probably need someone to talk to, someone to relate to, and they maybe don't have someone?
It's many mothers with children with special needs, not just Down syndrome, often feel isolated because I told you fear, right? So a lot of parents don't even take their children out a lot. I met a lady in a dentist office one day. Her son was probably in his 30s, Down syndrome, pretty much nonverbal, rock back and forth, right? And I had Malia with me. We're at a doctor's appointment. And so you see your family, right? So she's talking. And Malia was doing all kinds of things. And she was like, tears in her eyes, crying, telling me how she wished that her son was like my daughter.
Right.
And that wished that he could do the things that she did. And she had told me, this blew my mind. She said that she and her husband, he was probably in his 30s, easy, that they had never gone anywhere on a trip or anywhere without him. They never let a family member or anyone keep him.
Whoa.
And I'm like, what? You know, so there's isolation.
Yeah.
They feel isolated because people don't embrace. People tend to turn and you know, and don't even let their children, like they have the cooties or something. You know what I mean? Come on.
Right.
So I was different. I didn't do that. When children looked at Malia and saw that she was different, you know what I did? I educated. I would say, come over here.
Yes.
You see her, right? And, you know, I was like, she's a little bit different from you. She doesn't learn. I would just explain, you know, and guess what that would do with parents? That would make them a little more comfortable.
Right.
And I'll just share a quick little story because this was so cool.
Yeah.
Her 16th birthday.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Malia was very popular in school. Everyone loved her.
Yes.
Still do. She's a gem.
Yeah.
But so she's, you know, having her 16th birthday party. She's doing her list for guests.
Yes.
Most of them are typical peers. Right. And then she had her friends from her class.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, the parents were like, oh, wow, you know, this is going to be interesting. Like, had never done this. This had not taken place. Now they had at school in the TTA transition to adulthood class, they did have typical students who would come into the classroom and help the kids.
Right.
But nothing on the outside.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Malia's party was the bomb.
The bomb.
The bomb diggity, okay?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we had a DJ, those kids danced, those kids partied. The parents of children with special needs, they were sitting back over, you know, and I mean, a lot of them were literally crying because they could not believe how these typical children were interacting with their child, dancing, having a good time with them on the dance floor.
That's amazing.
It was so good. It was so good. And I would see these parents after that and they would just, you know, I'm still remember Malia's party. That was the best party ever. That was the best party ever. And they did start a little program called Social Buddies at the high school she attended where they would, you know, the typical peers would do things with the kids, go bowling and do all kinds of stuff like that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So, you know, so it's all good. So all of these things, I told you I get on a roll and we'd be talking. I get excited because a lot of these things are, as I've gone through the journey, I love that, through the journey that these things have come to me, right? And it's just a blessing. I mean, I really just think, and I thank God. I cry a lot sometimes at home when I think about it because you don't know the number of times that I've had to up and down with SmartMe, put it down, bring it back up, put it down, bring it back up. And it's been a challenge. And that's why I wanted to be successful, right?
Yes.
And so, but what I found when it came to SmartMe, through it, I was always getting to that what and why, the why, right?
Yeah.
I know why God gave SmartMe to me, right? Because I knew that Malia was capable of learning.
Yes.
I knew that she could learn, right? I believed that she could learn.
Right.
And so through my years after creating all these workbooks and stuff, I'm busy trying to sell them, right?
Yeah.
But no why to it. Just trying to, and always talking about Title I school children.
Right.
They're my passion.
Right.
That's another one of my passions.
Right.
They have special learning needs. They have special learning needs too, right? They don't have all the resources that they need. So that was always, so I was in that direction, right? But not really getting the help that I really needed, right? Organizations, corporations I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what to do to get there. And I think I'm on that trajectory right now and I'm very excited about it. But it was—
I think you are. I'm thinking of people that I know that could benefit from this and groups that we should definitely talk about later. But go ahead, I interrupted.
And so into COVID, right? During COVID, everything's down.
Yep.
And I'm like,
the learning,
my everything, but even like where's SmartMe going to go? So companies are literally going away.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, how do I keep this afloat? My husband, if I mention SmartMe, he's going to have a fit, right? You know?
I love that part because entrepreneurship is that.
It's difficult, you know?
It's difficult and there's ups and downs.
Ups and downs.
One day you want to, you're about to go through the roof and you got something good going. The next day, the whole thing's about to fall apart. And then your spouse and explaining to them and talk, hey, this isn't going to be forever, sorry.
And I had an Army officer, so he was, so he was like, look, you need to be doing something here.
Yeah,
so
black or white. Yes
I'm serious.
No. Yeah.
I'm serious. So I'm telling you every pebble, and that brings tears to my eyes, the pebble part.
Mm-hmm.
Because I look at all these pebbles where when I look back and where I'm at and what I have in terms of the resources that can help children, there's pebbles all along the way.
Yeah.
So here's another pebble, and the Lord literally just brought it to me. I was like, you have got to give me something.
Yes.
So that I can, let my husband see that what I have is good and it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about, my mind's always racing, trying to figure out stuff. So I'm thinking about Malia, and that there was this doll that I remembered. I started with my daughter, my oldest daughter. It was a little rag doll, right? And I happened to go upstairs during COVID, saw this doll, all tattered. Malia used to carry that doll around. That was her comfort doll. Yeah. That was a doll that she loved, would have the head right here and she'd be dragging around. It was bigger than she was, right? And it hit me. I went to bed and I was like, Lord, give me something. And I woke up the next morning. And now, mind you, when I started SmartMe, I had hand-drawn. I have all this stuff, too, one day, whenever, when I'm big multimillionaire and they're showing where I started, this little VHS box, right, with my little hand-drawn images, right?
Absolutely.
So I had these little doll images that I had created myself, and that's what they started with, right? I didn't have a graphic artist or anyone. I did what I had, and that's what went on these boxes.
That's lovely.
But it was Malia, and it was her SmartMe friends, right? And so they all had their names.
Yes.
And so on a list of paper years ago, I had always written down all the things that I wanted to do with SmartMe.
Okay.
And one of them was to create a doll.
Wow.
So I woke up this morning during COVID with, figuring out what am I going to do? Because my husband is going to wring my neck if I mention SmartMe again.
Right.
And the Lord said, create your dolls.
Wow. And you've got some for us today?
Create your dolls. As Malia would say, be amazed.
Be amazed. So I love it.
This is Malia.
That's lovely.
This is Malia. These are my plush dolls, comfort dolls, and learning buddies.
Can I hold this? Yeah.
Yes.
I love this.
So that's Malia.
Very soft.
Very soft. So a lot of children with special needs, right? They have attachment issues with their parents, right? It's hard for them to leave them, to go to school, to go to grandma's. They need something to keep them comfortable.
Connected to home or connected to whatever familiar. Okay.
Or going to bed, having a difficult time putting them down. As a lot of kids do. As a lot of children do, right? And these dolls offer that. They offer comfort. They offer warmth. They offer safety, right? And then wouldn't be SmartMe without the educational aspects to the clothing, right?
Right.
So not just comfort, but it's a learning buddy. So now I created each of them with educational aspects to their clothing. Malia has letters and numbers on her clothing. The clothes are removable, washable. Each one has a story.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
This is Gina.
Hey, Gina.
So this is my Asian doll, right? I wish they could sit up by themselves, but look, that's Gina. And you guys are going to get me because I left Lainey at home, and Lainey is one of my faves. She's a beautiful doll. They're all beautiful. I love them all. But Lainey has preschool sight words to, sorry, I didn't have these out.
No, this is beautiful.
And this is Sophie. This is my red-headed girl. This is my girl right here. So Sophie has colors and shapes in her clothing. Gina has fill-in-the-blank letters and numbers, right? And all of these are just little early learning skills that children can learn, along with cuddling up with a soft plush doll.
Yes,
right?
I want to cuddle it right now.
Yeah. And the clothes are removable and washable. The dolls are washable.
I love
they
that,
wash up great, right?
My girls love playing with their dolls and changing the clothes.
These dolls have been in swimming pools.
Yeah.
They have been in airports, walking along airports. I have videos of children they sit in car seats.
Yes.
They go everywhere that the kids go.
That is
so
awesome.
I do have another one. Her name is Melanie, and she has yellow clothes on, and she has preschool sight words all over hers. Right?
These are awesome.
And don't have the boys yet, but the boys will be coming that will go along with the boys. And each one of them, as you can see, because as I told you, I started with them when they were, when I first started SmartMe, Malia's friends. So each one has a story. And each of their stories will ultimately be made into a book. It will be our first SmartMe book.
Wow.
Right? So each one has a story about how Malia met them along her journey. Right? So, yeah.
I love it.
These are...
Hi, I'm Malia, SmartMe Kid Malia. I'm a person with Down syndrome. And it goes on to say, Down syndrome means that I have challenges with learning. I don't let that get in the way of me learning all that I can, though.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell this is beautiful.
Yeah.
This is wonderful.
Isn't that awesome?
It is.
And so I got up that morning, went in and drew the body to the head that I already had, right? My husband didn't, unbeknownst to him, he didn't know any of this. I found someone to manufacture the doll.
What was that like? How long did that take?
It didn't take long because I paid to have a prototype made. And that took a couple months to get the prototype made because it was back and forth, you know, and everything. And they sent me several versions of the doll before, you know, we landed on that. But it was only the Malia doll at first, right?
Yeah.
So when the final version finally came, and I just loved her.
It's lovely.
And I showed my husband. I was like, honey, I have something that, you know, I think, you know, it goes along with workbooks. It goes along with everything that I'm doing with SmartMe. These are comfort dolls. These are learning buddies. I said, you know, this is what I've come up with. This is what the Lord placed on my heart, right? Mm-hmm. And I pulled Malia out of the box and said, this is SmartMe Malia. And he just was like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, inspecting her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This
Pretty
is
nice.
impressive.
Yeah.
This is nice.
And kids love her. I'm telling you, I have pictures, I have images of children, I'm telling you, in car seats, with them in the car seat, in the swimming pool, they go swimming. They're in the airport, little girl walking her, you know, down the airport, you know, like, you know, walking her down like this, right? Sleeping with them.
Yes.
Look, 6-month-old babies, they're this big and the doll's that long, but they're next to the doll, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's warming my heart. You know, they're not where where I want them to be yet, right? But because I haven't, you know.
Well, that's every entrepreneur.
That's every entrepreneur.
Right.
That's our story, right?
More.
We can always do more. So
they got to have the rain jackets too.
Oh my goodness.
And the umbrellas.
I'm saying more so in getting them out, right? For people, because what I would love to see.
Well, how can folks buy them? I want to buy one right now.
So they're on my website, right? So if you go to smartmecompany.com.
Smartmecompany.com. And we'll put that up on the screen. Mm-hmm. SmartMeCompany.com.
I can even put a /products and and all my products are there.
Right there. Okay.
But even more so, right? So in talking about SmartMe and diving into the why.
Yes.
And where I'm at today.
Right.
Why is the belief, honestly, that all children, if given the right resources and tools, can learn.
I love that.
Whether they're mentally challenged, intellectually challenged, like my daughter Malia and other kids who are with autism, developmental delays, right?
Right.
Or children who are impoverished in Title I schools, right? Where because they don't have that parental support that other schools might have,
right? Where
the parents may be single mothers and can't provide the resources, there's a need there.
Wow.
These children are behind in a lot of cases.
There is.
Not only that, more than 1/3 of children in any given public school in this country right now is behind, below grade level. And people will try to say that this was since COVID. That's not true. It's always been that way. Go back and do your work.
Yeah.
At least 1/3. So that means a school with 1,000 students.
It's 333.
333.33333.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? More, and it's more than that. So
that's too many.
Too many. And guess what? A lot of these kids, because what I learned in Chrome many years ago through that program is that I lost my thought.
What you learned at the program back those years ago was
I was getting to the demographics. See, my mind's like going, I got so many things I can say and talk about. It's like going a zillion miles a minute. But demographically in this country, right? Demographics are changing, right?
Right.
So as demographic change, guess what? We have to make sure that children are educated to meet the demands of these technical jobs that are coming up right now, right? And a lot of them are going to be jobs that they can learn maybe on the job. But guess what? They have to know how to read.
Right.
And they have to know how to do math.
Yep.
And a lot of these children that are needing these resources are children who are in Title I schools. And so how do we get these resources to these kids?
Absolutely.
How do we get these resources to the parents like Malia?
Absolutely.
Who need to continue learning with their children outside of the classroom because there's 25 or 30 kids in the classroom and there's about 4.5 hours, if that much, of instruction time each day. And every child has diverse needs that need to be met. And that's almost every child. But those are the areas that I want to work on. I want to make sure that the children like my daughter have the resources, and the tools outside of the classroom, whether it's at home, whether it's an organization. There are so many nonprofits out there right now that already have the setup.
Right.
They have volunteers. They have people right there. But guess what they don't have? They need the resources.
Right resources. And SmartMe is that.
SmartMe is that.
And you've been developing these resources from early on and obviously continue to develop additional resources that can help solve that need.
And with the right backing financially, some of these corporations.
Yes. Absolutely.
We talk about Lowe's. Look.
Yeah. I mean,
look, Duke Energy,
absolutely.
Bank of America. I'm calling them out. No, listen.
Well, and the thing is, I think it makes sense too, right? Because corporations don't just do stuff because it's a good thing to do. They do it because it, in some way, will benefit the bottom line.
And the community, the society, the world.
When you have a better community, you got a better bottom line. If you got a better educated workforce, you got a better bottom line. When you got people that know how to read and do math, you typically have a better society overall and a better bottom line. So I think you've got a story here for sure that can solve so many layers of issues that aren't currently being addressed.
Not being addressed. Listen, it frustrates me. I don't mean to cut you off because
I can only imagine.
It's almost shameful.
It is.
When it comes to children with special needs. Let's say children in general first, right? Because we spend more money on a person in the jail system.
In prison.
Than we do on, we're just talking about the typical child.
Right.
In school.
Yep.
And now let's take a special needs child. And let's take North Carolina. What they give to the typical child is, for the special needs child, is far less than that typical child.
Right.
And then it's capped. Once there's so many special needs in the program, guess what? No more funding. You got to take that money you have and make it work for all the children that you have. So guess what? Per child, that number goes down and down and down. So the resources are not there. These children, my focus is academics. My focus is math and reading, right? So I stay in my lane. But guess what? These kids also need speech therapy, occupational therapy, all the things that can help them reach their full potential. And a lot of this is going to happen outside of the classroom, not in the classroom.
Right.
And I'm an educator. I have nothing against schools, but I say this and I think people are like, educators get upset with me. My thing is, schools can't do it all. Schools won't do it all. Schools have never done it all. And schools will never do it all.
Right.
That is the truth, okay?
Right. Yeah.
I've raised 4 children, and they've all gone through school.
And you still, your job wasn't done when they came home. You still need to make sure they do that homework, do that math, understand that lesson.
Yes.
Apply it to life.
Yes.
I love this. I love this. I mean, I think that there's so much opportunity, but I think the most immediate impact I see is a parent right now who just needs something for their child.
Who needs something for their child.
Needs some resources for their child.
Yes.
And to know that there's help. There's community and not just help, but because I see you after having this conversation as like a pioneer, and maybe there's folks that have done it or done something similar.
I love that word. No one's done it like Melanie, SmartMe.
No one's done it like you.
That's right, and I love that. That's where I'm at right now. Moving with that why that children are capable of learning. Children need to have the resources so that they can reach their full potential.
Absolutely.
Right? I do feel like I'm a pioneer there. I don't know.
You are. And that's probably why it's so tough.
Yeah.
Because we all know pioneers, the resources you need to give people the resources they need, right, is tough. And that journey can be lonely and arduous and frustrating and up and down. And so it sounds like, and when we say this a lot on a journey, the journey, the success is not the destination. It is the journey.
That is right. It's true.
It is the ups and downs. You are successful on your way to whatever success may be tomorrow. But you're already, the fact that you have done everything necessary to bring these into the physical form and all the other resources I'm sure that you have, that's successful.
Thank you so much.
Let it out. That's good.
Sorry.
No. It doesn't always feel like it.
Sometimes I want to give up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I don't have the help that I need to get it to the children who need it, right? I feel like I'm on this path by myself.
Yeah.
I see it. I see the vision.
Yeah.
But just don't know how to make that vision become a reality. And so, I talk to parents, right? And I've sold my products at military bases all over.
Right.
Okay, vendor events all over. I talk to parents, I talk to grandparents all the time.
Right.
Right? Oh, my child needs this, my son needs it, my daughter needs this, but they don't do anything. Right? Because my daughter, she works and she doesn't have time. She's a single mother, right? Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, listen, yes, home is a good place for these to be because we have to create a culture of learning at home. Right. Learning has to be a priority. It has to be what we do.
Right.
It has to be what we do from the little ones, 2, 3, 4. Honestly, I have those products. They work. Children learn. They're prepared for school. They're ready.
You know it. You know it to be true.
I know it to be true. And no one will ever tell me. I told you I started with Malia.
Yeah.
And then guess what? I had a son who came behind her.
Yeah.
And if he was on here, he'd probably be like, oh my gosh, he beat me over the head with SmartMe now. But I did. Yeah. He, from a little boy, from 2, 3 years old, he was doing the exact same thing. He learned with SmartMe.
Yeah.
My older kids learned with some other resources, right? You know what I mean? Because I didn't have SmartMe. But Jalen, my youngest, no, all the way up through 5th grade. He worked those workbooks in the summer. Summer learning, I call summer learning, is huge. There's no reason why any child, especially below grade level and on grade level, and I'm going to do some videos talking about that, right? Because parents get this thing like their child's on grade level and their child's okay. No, if your child's on grade level, they're missing some stuff. Trust me when I tell you, I'm an educator.
Right.
I know. But anyway, during the summer, it is imperative that children are practicing and reviewing what they just learned in the school year they just finished, so that whenever they start school in the fall, they are ready for the next grade level. Right now, the first 9 weeks of the school year has ended for some schools, depending on when they started, right? But it's right about now, maybe a few weeks ago. And guess what? That whole first 9 weeks,
they trying to catch up on what?
Trying to catch up from last year. And guess what? We're still in a deficit from COVID. There are literally children who are at least one grade level behind.
Wow.
And so how do you catch those children up when you have to meet the curriculum? You got to follow this curriculum.
Right.
It's not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen. It takes outside of the school system, outside of the classroom to help these children.
Right.
So, and I'm going to give you this because I've done it. I've done it, right? You have let's say a second grader behind.
Right.
Can't, trying to move forward, struggling right now in second grade.
Yep.
Because they don't know, especially in math, right?
Okay. And what's second grade level math? Adding,
just basic adding and subtracting, right? But they just, haven't gotten that concept, right? Yep. You're continuing on. They're getting more and more frustrated, right? And there's a study that happened, and they showed like during the summer, right? During the school year, children who have the resources at home, right? Who have those resources at home, during the school year, the kids all move along at the same pace. During the summer, parents like me, who made sure their children were practicing and reviewing, and guess what? They kept moving forward.
Right.
And these children who need these resources stay back here. So when the school year starts again, this is what you have. This achievement gap.
Right.
And the school year progresses, but look where the kids are. And that happens over and over again. So these kids are almost a year and 2 years behind in grade level. How do you get them up? If you're in an impoverished area, if you're in a Title I school, if the mother doesn't have the resources and she can't afford these resources, how does that child ever catch up? They don't.
Right.
They fall through the cracks. And then take math, for example. If a child is turned off to math by 3rd or 4th grade, it's done. It's a wrap. How many people do you know who fear math?
I'm not good at it.
I'm not good at it. I don't like it. I
can't do it. I don't like it.
Parents don't even want to work with their children because they're afraid of it. They weren't good at it.
Right.
You see? It is a
So there's even the concept of not being good at it, having a natural ability to do it is a little bit of a fallacy. Because while some folks may have that, it's more so, has there been these continual gaps of resource?
There's no question about it.
And this continual lack of intentionality around, how much time should a parent be spending with their child, ideal situation, if they had the right resources to keep them at pace or even a little bit ahead of pace during the summer?
I say a page of math, a page a day.
A page a day.
Right?
Yeah.
A page of math, a page a day.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always done with my children.
Keeps the gaps away.
Keep the gaps away. I like that. Yeah. What I say is a page of reading, a page of math keeps your child on the right path.
Oh,
that's my
like
thing, right? It's on the back of my book.
Say it again.
A page of reading, a page of math keeps your child on the right path.
And we should be doing that every day.
We should be doing that. So now, parents, it's kind of overwhelming during the school year, right?
I was going to admit something to you. And my wife has been getting on me. Sometimes I don't feel like reading a book at nighttime. Daddy, you read me a book? No, go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on that.
SmartMe's going to come up with something to solve that. Okay. You just watch and see. It's going to be amazing. It's already there. It's already in the work.
Walk out the door, you're going to have it figured out. But should I stop doing that? Do I need to get more intentional about every time they want a book read to them, do it. Read it. Because and it won't be long, right, that she's going to be able to read to you. So once she's at an age, and you need to get age-appropriate books, right? So literally, how old is your daughter? My youngest one will be 3 tomorrow, and my oldest one is 4.
She's 4. Okay, and is she reading yet? Is she?
No, not reading.
So,
she knows all her numbers and letters, and we thought that was good.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me talk about those. Wait a minute.
Come on, keep going.
I'm serious because I got some good stuff, right? So now does your daughter, now identifying the letters, right? But this is a little thing. This is another little trick that I love, and I've done this with kids, right? I'll have kids, I know my ABCs, and the parents will say, oh, they know their ABCs. And I'll say, oh, let me hear you say your ABCs. Guess what I get? A, B, C, D. Yeah. And I let them sing it. Yeah. You know, sometimes they go all the way through and sometimes they don't. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Now, you know what Miss Melanie wants you to do?
Point to them.
I want you to say
the
ABCs.
Say it. Don't sing it.
Don't sing it. And guess what? I haven't had
a kid be able to do it. Wow.
Because they learned a song. They haven't learned the order of the letters. They're messing up. A, B, E, right? When a child learns
without the melody,
it's gone. It's a song. They've learned a song. They've memorized a song. And then your 4-year-old should not only be able to identify the letters, know them in order, but guess what? She should know what letter comes before a letter, what letter comes after a letter. Because what that does is
got some work to do, baby.
That begins to build higher order thinking, right? You know? And so then when you're introducing the letter sounds, it all kind of comes together. It's not just... And parents really believe that if my child knows their letters and numbers, they're ready for school.
Yeah.
And that's not true. There's so much more. That's why you got to get my SmartMe resources and you will see.
We're going to get it. We're going to get everything you got. I think we're going to get it. So what is the price? What's the investment?
They vary. I think they're reasonable.
Minimum price that someone needs to. I think it's reasonable because me and my wife were just talking about this morning. Because we dropped her off at the school, and I'm like, well, what school are we going to put her in? It's the waiting list and all this stuff. And I was like, well, we may have to do private, you know, and, you know, because I was like, I went to private school. And so I didn't realize the benefit until now that I'm 38 and I see some folks that I see there's some gaps and there's stuff people just don't know. They're not able to do certain things, and I'm happy to, help as many people as I can, but it would have been better if we all got the same resources. I had small classrooms. There's certain things that I realized.
There's a benefit.
Yeah.
There's a benefit. Why is there and you can afford that benefit, right?
Right.
And so that's why I'm so passionate about the children who can't, right? And so that's why there's these multi-million, billion-dollar companies, corporations out there, right? That I'm hoping will hear this, right? And reach out to say, how can I help?
Yeah.
Because we can provide these resources to these schools. We can provide these resources, these dolls to children in these special needs classrooms to go home and their parents, they have something. Do you know that parents of special needs child sometimes just need a break?
Oh, I can only imagine.
They just need a minute.
Yeah.
Right? And if they have to breathe.
I need a minute with my children.
So just imagine.
Yeah, just imagine.
And whenever they have something, because of what they want to be is up under their mom, because their mom is warm and soft, makes them feel safe, right? So when you introduce them to something that gives them that same feeling of warmth and safety, guess what? Mom can sit this doll next to their child, right?
Yeah.
And go to the bathroom.
Away. Yeah, go to the bathroom. Wow.
I'm serious.
A break. Yeah, just
it's a break.
Give me a second.
Right, go and make a sandwich.
Yeah.
Go do something.
Wow.
And that's so important, right? And we don't even think about these things and the need for these things. But you asked earlier, like, how is it for these mothers?
Right.
And I talked, but this is another thing, right? Just to have a little break, just to be able to have something. So if we can find any kind of way.
We got to be, I will say this, because I know you're an intentional person, and I know Troy can help with this, but we got to figure out an approach to be intentional about working with, the companies want the communities to be educated. We know that. It's just a matter of being intentional about how that's approached.
And that's why I say, that home, and this is for anybody, whether you're working with your child or not, home has to be a place where there is a culture of learning. We're going to learn. You're in school, right? This is what you do.
Absolutely.
This is what we do here. We're going to learn, right?
But I also like what you did. which you took that strong home base and now you got the neighbors or now you got the kids at the school and now it's spread.
Yeah.
Like, because there are, to your point, kids that don't have strong homes.
That's right.
But who's the deacon at the church or the
somebody who could help? A church program can take my resources and work with those kids.
Work with those kids over the summer. Vacation Bible school. Maybe they didn't learn enough of, what was this, Father Abraham, and they need to learn some.
we need a little Father Abraham in there too, right? But and they had to keep the father. Yeah, grandma. We need it. We need it. Listen, my grandma be like, "Would you talk about Melly? Would you talk about Melly, girl?" Listen.
But we need both. We need some of that, and we need some.
We do
resources to really give people
and work with them.
Foundation they need so they don't have those
and
gaps.
Listen to this. We know that teachers don't make a whole lot of money, right?
Yeah.
SmartMe summer program, SmartMe after school program. This gives teachers an extra source of income. And guess what? Something that they love to do to be able to make a difference with these kids. I know because I talk to teachers, a lot of teachers who 100% agree with what I'm saying. They're in the classroom and they know that these children are struggling and these children are behind. But what can they do? There's only so much they can do. So guess what? If they had an opportunity to work in an environment outside of the classroom to be able to help these children, their students who are struggling, it would be amazing.
Yeah.
It would really, really be amazing.
I think you got something here, Melanie.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
I think you do. Yeah. I mean, I know it. I love the true raw emotion of what you've been going through to bring this to life.
It's
because people don't know the journey.
I love that. It's been a journey.
Yeah. And it can feel like it's going to take you out in the middle of it. But I mean, you've got something here, and I can't wait to learn about more of the resources.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome that you have a spiritual foundation and you're, just in tune with what God is doing and how he's using you to bring things to life that not just help, a neighborhood or could literally help the entire country.
I listened to this young lady, and she's amazing. And she said this to me, not to me, but in a message that I listened to of hers, and I love this, and I'm going to use it. She said, talk to an audience of one.
Right.
Stop worrying about who's listening, who doesn't like what you're saying. Talk to one person. Just one.
Just one.
And if you're talking, don't even look in the camera. Just act like you're talking to, and my guy, Troy, he's good.
Yeah.
He's good with that one too. That's another, he's another one, got that one going on. But look to one person.
Yep.
Like you're talking to one person.
Because you are.
And speak to them.
Right.
And you, with the fire that you're going to light, talking to one person is just going to ignite.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're going to have people who are believing what you believe.
I love it. I'm going home right now so I can teach all of my children, my two, about this. Remind us about the products again.
SmartMeCompany.com. SmartMeCompany.com.
Look at that camera right there and tell them one more time. Tell them one more time for the people at home.
You can find all of SmartMe products and resources at SmartMeCompany.com.
And Melanie, if you had one last thing to tell them, I want you to look back at that camera and tell them the last thing. If they don't remember anything else, what's one thing you want them to remember from our talk today?
Learning has no boundaries. All children have the capacity to learn, and we need to make sure that all children have the opportunity to grow, thrive, learn, and reach their full potential.
There it is. And Melanie's going to help you do it. I want y'all to visit that website. We're going to connect with Melanie. Melanie, you might be in here shooting your own videos. I don't know.
Listen, I want to come back, though. I was nervous in the beginning, but guess what? Yeah, I'm ready to do another one.
Yes. And what you have to say is so powerful. That's the funny thing about having the negative thoughts, because it's like you think that it's going to be one thing and it ends up being the total opposite.
I enjoyed this a lot.
This is great. So until next time, y'all, this is your boy, StephenMotivate, on the journey. Keep going. Stay motivated. Peace.